Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato SammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato SammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato SammaSambuddhassa. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Dutayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dutayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dutayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Tatayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Tatayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Tatayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. So now you can get yourself in a comfortable position, ready for meditation. So now get yourself into this position that is upright without being rigid, nice and relaxed without slouching. Remember, the Buddhist path is a middle path. Beyond the extremes, in this case, of being rigid and all tense, as well as being dull, lazy, and slouching, lazy body. Keeping the mind or the body like this helps to keep the mind like this in the middle path as well. free from agitation and free from mental dullness. Now, initially, let's bring our mind to our body to release any bodily tension or physical tension. We'll start at the bottom of the body. So release any tension you have in your toes, the balls of your feet, the arches of your feet, the heels, on the top of your feet, around your ankles and your Achilles tendons, and from your lower leg, from your calf muscles and your shin areas. From the front, sides, and back of your knees, in your upper leg, the quad muscles at the front and the hamstrings at the back. Now release any tension from your midsection area, the groin, the hip flexors, and the glute muscles. From your lower stomach, on and just above your hips and your lower back. Further up your stomach and your sides, and up to the center of your back. From your chest area, underneath your arms, and your upper back. On the outsides, you have the lateral muscles, and in between the shoulder blades and the spine, you have the rhomboid muscles. We tend to carry a lot of stress in this area that often can lead to things like headaches and so forth. So pay particular attention to releasing the tension from the rhomboid muscles, as well as the upper trap muscles that run between the neck and the shoulders, and your shoulders, your upper arms, the biceps and triceps, your elbows, your forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and thumbs. Now bring your focus up to your neck and release the tension from the front, sides, and back of your neck, as well as up the back of your head, and the sides of your head, around your ears and temples. Now we bring the focus to the face and release any tension from around your cheekbones and cheeks. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw, your chin, your mouth, both inside and outside. Having your tongue inside your mouth resting on the upper palate above the top teeth, and your lips gently touching. From your nose and sinuses, eye sockets and eyes. And make sure you're not frowning on your forehead. And finally, from the crown of your head, from the top of your head. And now briefly, let's scan the body again, just in case we have some leftover tension that we can release, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers and to the top of your head. And now bring your focus initially to the tip of your nose, with the object being the breath, or the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. As you breathe in, the air is quite cool as it passes your throat. And as it enters your lungs, they expand. As you breathe out, they compress as the air leaves them. And as it passes your throat, it's quite warm on the way out. So that's all you have to do right now, is focus on your breathing process and the feeling of your breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. If thoughts arise or any other mental activity arises, any types of mental agitation or excitement, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Don't try to forcefully push it away or deny it. Just let it come and go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull, just recognize it. And then refocus on your breath more brightly. This way, refocusing on your breath becomes the antidote for both the agitated mind as well as the dull mind. So now we will practice like this in silence for a few minutes. So now you can feel very happy with yourself for engaging in this practice, however short today. Feel the sense of joy and accomplishment. And fill yourself with universal loving kindness. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness and friendship that it overflows initially to your loved ones and friends, wishing that they have happiness and are free from suffering. And radiate this loving kindness also to those you may regard as strangers, those that you know a little bit or not at all. Keep radiating further and further to now include those you may regard as enemies, or that you find difficult or irritating. Wishing that all of these people have happiness and the causes of happiness, and are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and that they are peaceful, and that their immediate environments are also peaceful. And radiate also to include all of the living beings, all of the sentient beings with a mind that live around you, around your home, those that fly through the air, live on the earth, live under the earth, live in the waters, whether they were born from wounds, eggs, moisture, or through transformation, or whether they're born or yet to be born. May all of these sentient beings have happiness, be free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now gradually radiate this loving kindness out further and further to pervade your whole state or county. Just Leisha, we're having maybe some technical issues there. Maybe you can fix that. I think since mic may be on. Continue radiating this loving kindness out further and further to pervade your whole country. And other countries. Initially those that you're familiar with, and also those that you're not familiar with. Until this loving kindness pervades the whole earth. May this world be peaceful, free from conflict. May all of the living beings be happy and free from suffering. Keep radiating this loving kindness out like a tidal wave of loving kindness to now pervade the whole solar system. And all of the solar systems within this galaxy. And all of the galaxies within this universe. And other universes. Now this loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Unlimited loving kindness, pervading everywhere. And at the same time, be present here and now, and we will do the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And really have the feeling, when we're reciting the Buddhist verses, we should really have the feeling, whatever it is we're reciting, really feel it. So if we are dedicating all of our merits, all of our goodness to the attainment of enlightenment for the benefit of all, then really feel this. Don't let it just be words. So today we're on to the 11 virtuous mental factors. Of course, the subject is the 51 derivative mental factors, and last week we finished the 20 secondary afflictions after finishing the 6 root afflictions. So I hope that you got a lot out of that. You know, basically those 26 mental factors that mentioned, the 6 root afflictions and the 20 secondary afflictions are the mental factors that we need to purify our mind from, to avoid if possible, or if they do arise, to have them, get rid of them, eradicate them. This is why we're talking about all of these different aspects, so that we can train our mind to be virtuous, to train our mind away from being non-virtuous, from having an akusala state of mind, in other words, unwholesome or non-virtuous state of mind, and to have a kusala citta, which means to have a virtuous state of mind. With a virtuous state of mind, the virtuous state of mind is conducive to developing wisdom, developing compassion and love, and all of the other good mental qualities. And so I've written a couple of notes here so I don't forget. The virtuous, we need these virtuous mental actions because we will not cause any disturbance in our mind. When we have these mental, they're called virtuous qualities or virtuous mental factors because they help us to have an undisturbed mind, not disturbed by the vexations of our afflictions, of the impermanence of cyclic existence and so forth. And also, they do not result in the afflicted state of mind. For instance, if the mind is non-attached, then of course it is not attached. If the mind is filled with what we call non-ignorance, then obviously it is free from ignorance. And it's impossible for ignorance to be there when we have non-ignorance or wisdom. They are also the antidotes for the afflicted states of mind. So whenever these afflicted states of mind arise, we replace them with these virtuous states of mind or mental factors. They also lead, and this is really important, they help lead us to engage in virtuous activities of the mind, but also of the body and the speech. Because like I often say, the mind is the chief. If the mind is virtuous, then your actions and your words will also be virtuous. Even though we do practice to restrain ourselves from any non-virtuous activities of our speech, for instance, and also from our physical actions through our body, this helps us to regulate the mind as well. But if you can get right to the root, right to the chief, then this is the better way, the quicker way in developing this virtuous state of mind. The first one of these is faith. Now, of course, we spoke last week about the lack of faith. And obviously, faith is the opposite of the lack of faith. Now, the three types of faith that we spoke about last week, I'll reiterate without going in too in depth. The first one is having faith in the qualities of the teacher and the teachings after thoroughly investigating them, of course. Now, the initial part is to read or to study or to think about it, but then it's to absorb our mind with this. The knowledge of the goodness, the good qualities of the Buddha, for instance, of virtuous beings, and also the good qualities of the teachings of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the teachings of the virtuous beings or the masters throughout the ages that have also given teachings and commentaries on the Buddha's teachings. It's really important. Otherwise, if we don't develop this, then we're not going to pay 100% attention to it. And if we don't pay attention to this, then it's impossible for us then to develop the second type of faith, which is the faith of emulation, where we want to emulate these good qualities of the teacher and the teachings. Now, of course, we want to develop this virtuous state of mind. Eventually this enlightened mind. We want to unveil the enlightenment. This is what it means by to emulate. We want this. We want to emulate these good qualities of the Buddha and the Dharma and so forth. The third type of faith in Buddhism is the faith of conviction. So this is the faith that where there is no more uncertainty, no more doubting these good qualities, and also no more doubting that we ourselves can emulate and actually reveal, if you like, or attain these qualities ourselves. When these three are together, this is called perfect faith. So the faith in the good qualities of the teacher and the teachings, the faith in the emulation, where we want to emulate these good qualities, The faith now that we are totally convinced without any doubt or uncertainty that this is possible. And when these three are together, is perfect faith. The next part I'd like to mention is faith can also be known as trust or belief or confidence, in this case, self-confidence, and confidence in these qualities. And confidence also in belief and trust in what is true, not what is untrue. And faith and confidence in virtuousness, in virtue. It's really important for us to remind ourselves about virtue. First of all, it starts in your own mind, to recognize your own good qualities, your own virtuousness, as well as the good qualities of those that you could say are better than us at the moment, such as the Buddha, such as the Bodhisattvas, such as the Arahants, such as the virtuous teachers that we may be aware of. I'll mention, for instance, of course, I'm maybe a little biased, even though I try not to be biased, but to my teachers, my close teachers, of which you can say there's 5 or 6 very close teachers I've had in my life so far, as well as other virtuous teachers. And also people like His Holiness Dalai Lama and so forth. Then there's also this faith allows us to have an interest in an admiration for enlightenment itself, even though we don't know what it is yet. We do know what it's not. It's not ignorance, it's not attachment, it's not aversion, it's not jealousies, it's not harmfulness, and so forth. But it helps us to have some sort of interest, some sort of desire, in a sense, to find out more about it and to realize it eventually ourselves. It also helps us to have an interest in the path to enlightenment, in the Dharma. And once we have some sort of interest, really, really strong interest in the Dharma, then we are more likely to put it into practice. We're more likely to study and to hear it, to contemplate it and to practice it, and practice the different aspects of the Dharma, such as morality, such as meditation, such as the development of insight. Also, it helps us to have the interest in the goodness of others. So often I think we dwell or we pay attention to the faults of others. Now, this is okay if we are there to help them, but also it's okay if we have a look at them and we don't develop them ourselves. We convince ourselves that, no, I'm not going to behave in a bad way like that. But it's much better to look at our own faults and much better to look at the good qualities of others and adopt them. As some of you may be aware, I do a lot of writing, all of you know that, aware of that. But there's a quote that I have: if you see good in someone, let it be you. If you see bad in someone, don't let it be you. So important so that we have an interest in purifying our own faults and have an interest in recognizing the good qualities of others, and then adopting these good qualities ourselves if we don't have them. Okay, next point. There are two sort of effects from this faith, or 2 types of these types of faith. The first one is by listening. You acquire it by listening. In other words, it's inferential faith. But this is still unstable. For instance, you're listening to this short talk today on the internet. This is what you get. Even if you agree 100% right now, you get it. But it's still inferential because you haven't absorbed your mind with it yet. So the second type, is experiential or direct knowledge. And this is stable. This is acquired. This is kind of based on wisdom and acquired after investigation and analysis. I think that should be clear there. It's through one's own experiences. I mentioned to you in maybe a few classes ago an example that I come across with the idea of inferential knowledge, indirect knowledge, and direct knowledge. The first one is, let's say, for instance, most of you living in Australia And I think also Hanukkah is in England. You probably know about Australia a little bit. It's a big country. Let's say you're in the middle of Australia. Let's say you're at Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, the center of Australia, and you want to know about the beach. You want to know about the ocean, actually. Then you can do some research. You can ask people that have been there, maybe even experts on the subject. You can look it up on the internet, read about it, watch documentaries, things like this. Then you get some sort of inferential knowledge about it. But you still have this desire, this interest in finding out what is the ocean? What is it like? So then you have to go to the ocean. So indirect knowledge is like when you arrive at the ocean, you look at it from a distance, maybe from a cliff, or if you're on the beach looking at it directly, you're looking at the water, you're looking at the surrounds of the coastline. Then you get some sort of indirect understanding. But it's not until you experience the ocean with all of your senses, with all of your 6 senses, without attaching, without saying, I like it or I don't like it, or it's cold or it's hot. Really experience it, then this is direct knowledge. And it is likewise with this faith, with developing this interest in practicing the Dharma. Okay, so I think that covers the first one of faith, the first virtuous mental factor. The second one is moral shame. Now, of course, once again, we spoke about the opposite of this last week, the lack of moral shame. If we have a lack of moral shame, then we are not going to be able to regulate our behavior, our thoughts, our speech, and our actions. So moral shame is kind of like it's like a self-dignity. It's in respects to virtuous qualities. If we have moral shame, then we will catch this anytime we are being immoral, and we will rectify it. Because we are having some interest in the good qualities. We're convinced that the good qualities are the way to go, if you like. It's a kind of a feeling of shame or remorse when engaging in unwholesome actions of our body, our speech, and our mind. This helps us to refrain from negative actions, and we care how our behavior will affect ourselves and others, not just ourselves now. We will stop engaging in bad actions if we have this moral shame. And this moral shame now leads to the third of the virtuous qualities, and that is a fear of unwholesomeness. It's similar to moral shame, where we will avoid negative actions. It's a feeling of embarrassment of being unwholesome. Now, this is like a healthy embarrassment, not the type of embarrassment that we normally experience, which comes from our ego and our pride and so forth, but like a wholesome, good, healthy embarrassment in engaging in unwholesomeness. It's kind of caring how our behavior will reflect upon us. Once again, not from an egotistical point of view. In relation to our teachers, for instance, those that we really respect, those people that we really respect, such as our parents, the holy beings, the teachers, the noble practitioners, even the ones that we don't know but may be aware of. Also in the ones that are compassionate and wise. Once again, I'll mention, even if we don't know them, those beings that are compassionate and wise. We don't want to embarrass ourselves by being unwholesome in front of them or having them find out that we have behaved in an unwholesome manner. I remember when I was a child, with my parents, and this is kudos to my mum here, and also my dad who passed away already. But I remember having this type of feelings when I did bad stuff. I didn't do really bad stuff, but if I did things that I knew my parents didn't want me to do, then I had this feeling of embarrassment. And I remember probably in my sort of early 20s, when I started taking my Dharma practice more seriously, started getting more interest interested in it. And I remember having these thoughts, these memories of when I was young, and realizing that it was really good that I had these feelings, because it kind of led to them being easy to have them arise at that time, and since then, of course, as well. So the fourth one is non-attachment. Now, we only have about 2.5 minutes to go. As you know, I'm speaking about, as I mentioned, I think last week, we're speaking about these in really big detail. I really want you to know your good qualities so that you can have them arise whenever your mind wanders. And that's why I'm going to do these 11 slowly. So it's going to take over like probably 3 classes. Depends on how quickly we go through each one. But it's really important that you really get this, okay? Nod if you agree. Good. And so non-attachment, non-attaching to or desiring in worldly existence. So it's a little bit deeper than we think normally. Normally we think we're attached to these physical things, or even our opinions or our beliefs and things like this, but also to any type of worldly existence. And worldly existence means conditioned existence, conditioned by cause and effect. And this conditioning results in impurities, it results in impermanence, impermanent objects and subjects, and also in unsatisfactoriness or suffering. We should realize that this non-attachment to worldly existence is for our benefit. It's not something, because quite often I've been asked in the past, well, how can I not be attached to my family? How can I not be attached to my loved ones? And so forth. Actually, if you're non-attached, it means you can be of more benefit to them. You pay more attention to them. You'll be with them more, 100%. Okay, so it's gone past 1 minute. I'm trying my best each week. Of course, it doesn't always work, to try not to get cut off. So I will just encourage you to, once again, once I post this video on Facebook, to have a look at it again. Maybe you've taken some notes already. So if you have, you can contemplate that, or maybe take notes when you have a look at the video. And then and over and over again, just like we read the Buddha's teachings over and over again, we can learn each time our mind opens more and more. So practice well. Well, first of all, study and hear the Dharma well, contemplate it well, practice